Hi, welcome back to Guitar Discoveries. I'm Robert Cassard. Today we're going to be talking about capos. Just to make sure you know, what is a capo is basically a bar that you can put on any fret of your guitar and thereby raise the pitch. You're shortening the length of the string, therefore raising the pitch. And it allows you to change the key that you're playing in very easily. For example, you can put a capo on at the first fret and you've raised everything a half step. If you were playing an E, you're now playing an F. So very, very easy way to modify the key you're playing in. And there's a lot of practical reasons why you might want to do that. If you feel more comfortable playing in a certain set of hand positions, a certain key, and your keyboard player maybe is playing in a different one. Let's say he's playing an A and you would prefer to play with G hand positions. Put a capo on the second fret and suddenly what was a G is now an A and you're in tune with your keyboard player. So there's a good practical musical reasons for using a capo. But beyond that, there's tonal shifts that happen and it can be quite beautiful to play a guitar that's been capoed. One of the most dramatic examples of that, I think an example that really affected me when I first heard it was Here Comes the Sun.
Here comes the sun, I say, it's alright.
George Harrison has that capoed at the 7th fret, and it really changes the tonality. All right, let's talk about the different kinds of capos that are out there. Long time ago, elastic capos were pretty standard, and they allowed you to place the capo on the frets and then pull this elastic strap around, and depending on the how tight you had this, you have a choice of how tight you made it with these little holes, kind of like a belt buckle, and that could work pretty effectively. At least you could change the tension. Now, I even noticed on this is an old capo, and I noticed that there are grooves actually in this from where it's pressed against the strings, and you can tell that it's pressed against the middle strings much harder than it has the outer strings. Okay, so, not great for being in perfect tune. If you may be in perfect tune when you strum an open chord, but then when you put the capo on, it's pushing on the different strings differently, and that means that now you're going to have to retune after putting on the capo. Not great in a live performance, right? There's something called a Schubb capo, made of metal, and it has a little bar that you flip up, and you can create or determine how much tension is on that capo by using this little screw here and backing it off or pushing it on, and it'll click into place. Now, something I've always noticed about Schubbs, they don't seem to be designed for guitars with wide necks. The other thing is they have a pretty strong arch to them. It curves like an arc like that. And that's designed to go with the fretboard radius of your guitar. The problem is it doesn't really work for all guitars. Some guitars have a higher number fretboard radius. What that means is that the neck is more flat. The higher the number, the flatter the neck. The lower the number, the more arched the neck. Now, the Schubb seems to go well with an arched neck. And if, in fact, you're not using a strongly arched neck, the outer parts of the pad will press harder on the outer strings and pull them out of tune. They'll pull them sharp, and then you're going to have to retune again. Kyser capo, this is sort of the one that I ended up settling on over the years, partly because it's really easy to get on and off. It has a single spring. You can use it for a hand exerciser too. Presses pretty nicely against it. The neck, it's fairly wide. It does have a fairly strong radius, again, sort of the equivalent of a lower number radius. The radius is like this. The higher the number, the longer it takes to come back around in a circle. The lower, if it's a 7-inch radius, that's a pretty tight circle, right? If it's a 12-inch, it's bigger. If it's a 16, it's really big. And classical guitars have a completely flat neck. So the Kyser is sort of where I ended up for most of my performing and things like that. I think I saw James Taylor once in concert. He was playing the song Your Smiling Face, and there's a key change in the middle of it, and he just slid that capo up 2 frets, and boom, he's in the new key.
Whoa, how much longer? Somebody tell me.
And I thought, wow, he did that on the fly. That was really interesting. And this was the only capo I could find that you would be able to do that with. Now, capos are generally a pretty cheap accessory. You can find them online very inexpensively in certain cases, and then up to like 20 bucks is pretty much an expensive capo. But that's not true anymore. A company called Thalia Capos, based here in California, started making really premium capos. So my wife and I have a music duo called Cosmic Spin, and we play around the Bay Area. And for the first few years of what we were doing, I was playing an acoustic guitar, but running it through effects and doing all kinds of interesting things with it.
It's common ground we're walking on, right before a breaking dawn. I know I can find someone.
Well, recently we were kind of talking, and I decided I was going to pull out a semi-hollow body. In this case, it's my Heritage H575 from the early 90s. And I was going to play this guitar for our live shows. Now, because I'm playing it live and because we do a lot of key shifting, I mean a lot, I'm pulling capos on and off all night when we play. And again, I've been using a Kyser, and it works pretty well, but I would say probably 1 time out of 3, I'll put it on and go, oh, I really need to retune. Particularly the higher up on the neck I go with the capoing, the more this requires me to retune. So I thought maybe a Thalia Capo would be the ticket for me. And okay, yep, they're expensive and all that, and they've got all kinds of customization options, and you can match the wood to your guitar. You know, there's all this fancy stuff that Thalia is offering. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to give it a try. You know, this is the guitar I'm playing live. I really want to see if a Thalia Capo does something amazing for me, right? So I got one. It comes in a beautiful bag, and it's pretty impressive, I gotta say. You start to feel like, gee, maybe this was worth 75 bucks. You can see your capo in the package, and it's all beautiful. In this case, it's chrome and very, very nice. Now, in my case, I couldn't resist. I thought, I'm using this guitar that's a curly maple guitar. I'm gonna get a curly maple, can you see this? A curly maple version, and I'm going to get my name etched in there. So there it is, curly maple, so that it matches my Heritage and it has my name in it. Okay, ego stuff, right? You wouldn't need to do that, but I did. It's got a little quick start guide. It's got a full set of standard tension rubber pads, and then inside another little silky bag, it comes with a set of high tension rubber pads, and that's for using like on a 12 string or something that requires more pressure. It's got a couple of Thalia stickers, it's got a satisfaction guarantee, so they aren't messing around. You know, they're definitely willing to stand behind the product. If you're a capo user, hopefully this is going to be the capo that's going to solve all your capo problems. This guitar has a 12-inch fretboard radius. I'm using the 12-inch fretboard radius pad that comes right out of the box. Not bad. Okay, I'm happy with that, right? Now they also say you can just pull this down and put it on your nut. So the question is that just like me putting my fingers down? Pretty nice. Let's slide it up to 5 and let's see what we got. I can live with that. That's actually pretty nice. Let's compare that to the Kyser. It's just a little off, right? It's not sounding. I'm hearing the vibration between the strings. Let's go back. Much less vibration. I gotta tell you, the ability to switch, pull the capo on and off and not have to retune, huge. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to that fretboard radius. getting matched to your guitar. And also just the even pressure. This has a pretty wide bar on the bottom that puts pressure against the back of the neck. I think that makes a huge difference too. So I'm sold. Not cheap, but I'm sold. If you got the money and perhaps want to get one of these for your performing guitar, give it a try. I think you'll be really impressed. I'm impressed already. Is it worth it to you? Only you can answer that question, but I'd love to know the answer. I'd love to know if you think having a great, reliable, perfectly tuned capo is worth the money. This has been a Guitar Discovery. Please subscribe. Love to share more tips, tricks, and cool stuff with you, and hope to see you back. Thanks.